everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is April, and if you're new here, I make sewing and DIY fashion videos every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell so you never miss out on a new video. This week on Thrifted Transformations, I'm going to be transforming this gingham print dress right here that I thrifted a while back. It was actually part of one of my Instagram designs and it didn't win in the votes, so now I'm finally getting around to transforming it. I hope you enjoyed this video and let's get started. Here's what the dress looks like on. It's a very simple design, no sleeves, no lining. There's a tie at the waist to make it tighter, and the length reaches my ankles. My first thought is that I definitely want it to be pants, maybe a jumpsuit? But I have no idea what the top is going to look like yet, so we'll just start off with the pants. First, I take apart the dress and iron out all the wrinkles so you can see the gingham print clearly, and so it lays nice and flat to accurately cut out my pieces. Next, using a pair of high-waisted wide leg pants I own, I fold the front pants in half and trace the shape onto the skirt. Make sure to add seam allowance before you cut it out. Then fold the backside of the pants in half, trace it onto another section of the skirt, and cut out two pieces as well. To create pockets for my jumpsuit, lay a piece of paper underneath and trace out a pocket shape. You can make your pocket bag as big or as deep as you want to. Then cut 4 pocket pieces out. To construct the pants, face the 2 front pieces right sides together and sew along the crotch seam. Do the same thing to the back pants, except I left the top open to add the zipper later. Next, take 2 pocket pieces and face them right sides together to the front of the pants and sew them down at the side seams. Repeat the same thing with the other 2 pocket pieces to the back side of the pants. With the pocket pieces flipped out, face the front and back pants right sides together and sew the pocket bags closed along the curve, stopping at the side seam, but don't sew past it. Then close up some of the pocket opening at the top and bottom, enough so it's a good size for your hands to fit in. When sewing this part, just make sure the side seam layers are lined up and stitch right on top of the pocket side seam. When you close up the bottom part of the pocket, you can continue sewing the rest of the side seam closed. After that, we can sew the inner leg seam as well. To make sure my seams are lined up, I like to sew starting from the middle crotch seam down one leg, and then I'll go back to the middle crotch seam and sew down the other leg. Before tacking the pockets to the front waist, I sewed darts on both sides of the pants, in the front and the back. Then base stitch the pockets to the front of the pants to hold them in place. Moving on to the top of the jumpsuit, I'm keeping the design pretty simple. Just lay the pants over the front bodice piece and mark where the side seams are on the pants. Then draw the side seams of the bodice straight up, add your seam allowance, and cut out a general shape for now. I actually gave myself a lot of seam allowance in case I make any mistakes or change my plans. Next, I laid the back bodice pieces down and marked pieces that fit the back of the pants. Then I walk and pin each piece along the waist of the pants to true up my markings and make sure all the seams actually line up. If everything checks out, we can face the bodice pieces right sides together and sew them at the side seams. Check again to make sure the seams are lined up with the pants, and then while wearing the jumpsuit, I marked out the shape of my neckline. I made the front neckline straight across the chest, curved it under the arms, and straight across the back. The back side will be lower than the front. After cutting the bodice out, I cut out a facing piece to finish the raw edges of the neckline and the straps. The facing piece is just going to be a small strip that will line the very top of the bodice, and you should interface it so it can support the neckline better. I totally forgot, so my neckline was flimsy and kept wanting to flip over. I actually don't do this facing technique on my bodices often, but hopefully next time I'll remember that it needs to be stabilized, especially if your fabric is very thin like mine. Moving on to the straps, I cut out 2 strips that were 3.5 inches wide, interfaced half of it, and folded it in half and sewed down the open side. Turn the straps out with a loop turner and press them nice and flat with your iron. Time to assemble the jumpsuit. First, sew the bodice and pants together at the waist. Once the top and bottom are attached, you can try it on, pin the straps in place, and measure them to fit you. When trying on the straps, you also want to mark on the bodice where the straps will be located. As you can see, I placed 2 marks at the back of the bodice so I know exactly where the straps will be inserted. Then I just transfer those markings onto the other side so that it's even. Sandwich the straps in between the bodice and the facing and sew along the entire neckline. Now it's time to add the zipper. I close up the rest of the jumpsuit with a basting stitch and trim the zipper to fit the opening. Then evenly pin the zipper in place over the seam and sew it down. I like to quickly hand baste the zipper down first, remove the pins, and then permanently sew it with my machine. I just remember I still had the waist ties from the original dress and decided to add them to my jumpsuit, so I reopened the side seams and sewed them in. Lastly, hem the bottom of the pants and we're finished! Here is the final transformation. you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Thrifted Transformations. As usual, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more DIY fashion, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!